Hello, everyone, and welcome to the On Time, On Target Financial Thought Leadership Series. And today I bring you Elise O'Connell, who you've already heard her bio in the intro section. But what three sentences doesn't really capture is what a modern day superwoman this woman really is. Because to go from the where she was, and then as her entrepreneurial drive wanted to get out there and work for herself. And then when I think of that, I think of, okay, let's try to do something, a little bit to get back in. Nope, she jumps in full force and opens a luxury spa. So it's a great story. I know you're going to love hearing it, and that's why I wanted to have her on. So with that, Elise, we're going to turn it over to you to kind of give us a little bit of a backstory, and so we can get to know you a little bit. So go ahead.
Thanks, Steve, for having me. I'm so honored and excited to be a part of your podcast and share a little bit about our Woodhouse journey with you. As you mentioned in my bio, I went to University of North Texas in Denton, which is my second hometown. I also spent a lot of time in the Rio Grande Valley growing up. But I majored in film, realized about my junior year that was not what I wanted to do, like a lot of kids in college.
Yeah. Right.
I was so far in at that point, of course, I went ahead and finished, knowing that future employers were probably looking more for the ability to start and finish something. So went ahead and finished my degree, and then made my entree into the corporate world of human resources, primarily in the technology field as a recruiter. I had the privilege of working for some startups in the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina, and in Phoenix, Arizona as well, before moving back to Texas. And then stayed within human resources, worked at a fantastic advertising agency here in Austin, and then had my first child. And that's when life switched a little bit. I took the stay-at-home mom route and was home with my first two kids for about 13, 14 years before the Woodhouse opportunity presented itself at my door with a knock from my friend and neighbor and business partner now, Susanna. And the adventure took off from there, and added a third baby during all that mix as well. So,
right. Why not?
Gotta do it all.
And that's why I described you as a superwoman. So that's just, it's amazing to me. And now tell me a little bit more about these. So you moved to North Carolina and Arizona, both pretty cool places to go. Mm-hmm. Was that work related, or just kind of life started happening and that you went that, or did you have family out there?
Life started happening. I met a great man, father of my kids, and followed him out there for graduate school while he was at Duke, and then out to Arizona for his job, and then back here to Dell.
All right. That's pretty cool. And she just mentioned her business partner, Susanna, who I've known actually longer than I've known Elise, because our daughters started playing volleyball together when I believe mine was 10. Well, actually, Natalie's even younger. So, I mean, our two daughters were 10 years old and they started playing volleyball. And if you know anything about Texas sports, it's kind of crazy, right? It's intense at an early age, and you could argue whether that's good or bad. I won't argue with you. I think it's great, but it's not for everybody. But yeah, so I started hanging out with Susanna a lot and going to all these tournaments and things. And somewhere along the line, she had started talking about the spa concept. So from your perspective, can you talk about when did the idea for a spa kind of come into your mind, or were there other ideas before the spa that you considered? So give us an idea of that kind of path before you committed to the spa idea.
Sure. Well, I was actually introduced to Woodhouse Day Spa by Susanna. She had a connection to the Austin location, and we had frequented that location together and independently, and had ended up in several conversations about why we didn't have that, level of customer service, level of luxury, just ability to escape for a few hours here in, the Round Rock, Cedar Park area. So she had started to toy with the idea of opening her own location, and realized she wanted to do that with a partner. And through some discussions with several different people, she and I ended up saying, hey, let's do this. We went down to Victoria, where the franchise home office is located, met with the team there, and decided to go ahead and move forward with it, and haven't looked back since.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, from Elise is humble because from a spa perspective, and I'm not a super big spa guy because I'm more of the I don't like people touching me sort of thing. Everybody's different, but I've only been to a few in my life, and I've been to what I would consider some higher end spas in New Mexico, where my wife's from. And when I got a tour, I saw when it was being built, so I had that privilege too. But I got a tour of it when it opened up, and it's absolutely amazing. So we're talking high end luxury spa. Everything that you're looking for when you go into a spa. So you got the idea for the spa. You talked to some folks, the headquarters folks. Now, talk to me about the business model. Is it a franchise relationship?
Yes, it is a franchise relationship. Each location, we're up to about 70 now around the United States, is independently owned. A few of our owners own multiple locations. Susanna and I own solely the Cedar Park location at this point. But yeah, it's a franchise. We get great support from our home office in Victoria. It's nice that it's a Texas-based company. That was very attractive to me. It's a woman-owned company, which was very attractive to me.
Sure.
You know, you don't find that every day, and it's really been a fantastic experience.
I bet. Now, before we get into the operations of the spa or the grand opening, because I remember that, how was it? So I'm sure we have listeners that were in your situation or consider someday going through what you've kind of already put behind you. So what would you tell folks about what it's like, or what your story was like about managing, you know, two, I would not say older children, but two children that are, you know, middle schoolish or into high school, and then a young one while you're going through this process?
You know, during the ramp up phase, as far as construction and all of that, I was pregnant at the time. So that was easy. He went with me everywhere. The older two were in elementary and junior high at that point. And we did have quite a bit of flexibility at that point. You know, I don't know anything about heavy machinery and pneumatic tools. So yes, I would stop in and check on the construction daily, but I didn't have to be there all day long. So my flexibility was still there at that point. I think our biggest challenge during the startup phase, honestly, was with our banking and acquiring financing. That's one big tip that I would give to anybody moving into a new small business venture. If it is your first and you're establishing a relationship with a bank, talk to more than one bank at one time. Get multiple irons in the fire so that you can move with the speed and efficiency that you want to, rather than being pigeonholed perhaps with just one lender. That was a big stumbling block for us. Another stumbling block for us at the time, and this of course is going to vary for people, was actually being able to find commercial real estate property in a desirable location. Part of being part of the Woodhouse franchise is there's a lot of research and analytics that goes into from a third-party vendor to really determine where the ideal locations are to put a Woodhouse Day Spa. We want to be conveniently located to our, you know, key demographic guests, and where we were finding either there was just nothing available, the space was too small, or if there was something available, it wasn't a desirable location. So we had to choose a new build. So we were at the hands of the developer there too, and we were on their timeline as far as the construction. So that slowed us a bit. Our model is typically 9 months from signing the franchise agreement to opening your doors. It took us 2 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And the design of the actual spa, the layout, did you have a hand in that, or is that kind of given to you, or like 2 or 3 options depending on the real estate that you find, or what can you say about that?
I did it all. I did all of the render. I'm just kidding. I did not.
I was like, good for you.
I wish I were that talented. No, we, Woodhouse Spas Corporation actually has a team of architects that design the spas, dependent on the footprint and layout of the square footage. And then there's an in-house design team that puts together the design of the spa. The designs of the spa evolve over time. You may go to an older location and it doesn't look quite the same. It'll look very similar, but we're always under constant revamping, re-updating to stay with the latest designs. We happen to be on the newest design pattern.
Okay, well, that's pretty neat. And you had mentioned I guess to kind of close this, talk to us about the experience. Did you when you stood in the property or at the new construction, could you see it? Or did you, I mean, could you see how it's going to all be at the end of the day, or was that too far, or what was that like?
Aesthetically, yes, I could see it because I had been in one of the newer spas. Once the studs went in, and you could see where the walls were going to be, you were able to visualize it aesthetically.
Okay.
Was I able to visualize the warmth and the sense of team and the camaraderie and hospitality that our staff provides to everyone? No, that was a gift in itself that came later.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's talk about that. So there was the opening, the 2 years you said, so some time, and you can share about how stressful or not stressful that was. It would seem stressful to me, but also building out your team. Did you have, were you hiring folks kind of along the way saying, well, someday you'll come work for us, or did you kind of have to wait to that opening to go out and really say, okay, can you work for me in the next month? How does it work?
Yes, we started recruiting. I believe we started posting jobs about a month and a half before our slated opening, and then started interviewing about a month before. We knew that some people might be coming from other positions where we would, hope that they would give a sufficient notice to their employer out of courtesy. It's just the right thing to do. And then we knew that we might have people who, needed to work right away. We did have a couple of people in those instances. There was a lot of work to do with setup, unpacking boxes, moving furniture, all of that. So there were a couple of people that we were able to bring on right away in that capacity, even though that sort of light industrial labor, I guess, was not ultimately their end job that we were hiring them for, but we wanted to give them an opportunity.
Right, that makes sense. And then as you scaled into the opening, well, I guess I think I remember you scaling into the opening because I think we were there actually before the grand opening when you gave my wife and I a tour, but I don't remember exactly. But did you open for customers a little bit to start getting some revenue flowing in and then have a grand opening? Is that how it worked?
Yes.
Or how'd you do it? Okay.
Yes. So we had our staff come in 2 weeks before opening, all of our therapists trained on our Woodhouse protocols that are unique to the Woodhouse brand. These were licensed, professionals with great experience under their belt, some freshly out of school as well, but part of the Woodhouse way is to train on the Woodhouse proprietary protocols. So they got a good fair amount of training in there. And then we had our hospitality team trained as well on software, on the whole process of guest check-in, compliance with TDLR, all of the stuff, all the things. So we had that 2 weeks of training, and then we had a weekend, I believe it was 4 days, a Thursday through a Sunday, of friends and family services for everybody to give it a good dry run. And then we opened on October 23rd, 2017. And then the grand opening event was not until later on in November. Okay.
Well, excellent. Well, talk to us a little bit about your experience as a business owner and when you open for business, because I know from my experience that, it's so exciting. You get everything set up and you all your licenses, and then you hang up the shingle and you put the website out, and then you look out the door. For me, it's stare at the phone and wait for it to ring. How was the opening as far as traffic flow? Did it meet your expectations, or where were you in kind of in relation to what you thought?
We really didn't know what to expect. Our market was a little bit different than some of the others that we were being compared to. What we did have going for us was there already was some brand recognition within the Austin metro area because of the Austin location. We, had several guests right off the bat that had frequented the Austin spa but happened to live 5 minutes away from where we were going to be opening. So we became a more convenient option for them to know that they were going to get that same level of experience and walk in and feel welcome right away. But we did have, some pavement to pound with getting the name out there in this northern Austin metro area for folks who weren't familiar with the brand. Social media was a key player in that. I believe at that time, even paying for Facebook ads was a little bit under the radar, not so much as it is now. But for instance, for our grand opening invitation in November, I mean, that was a public event blasted out on social media, in addition to hand-mailed invitations to folks within the area that fit our key demographic. The phones did start ringing right away, but we definitely had our slow days. But what we have found is over the last close to 3 years now, the name recognition, the word of mouth, the drive-by visibility with other businesses that have gone in our center, all of those have really helped us. And it's truly become, especially within our massage department, and if you build it, they will come sort of thing.
Oh, nice.
We'll add on, we'll add on a massage therapist, they'll get booked up, we'll add on another one, they'll get booked up. And so that piece of the business is definitely continuing to grow. We've got a fantastic team of estheticians as well. And our nail department is always buzzing.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's great news. And I know from dealing with the mass affluent and high net worth folks that word of mouth is kind of everything. So it's great that the word is out. And before, we're going to talk about COVID-19 a little bit, because that affected everyone, of course. Before COVID-19 came into our lives in 2020, were you at capacity, or did you even still have more capacity to be able to grow for the spa? We
were on an uphill trajectory. Before the shutdown. We were actively hiring. We're actively hiring now, but we were actively hiring for more therapists. We've got 18 treatment rooms throughout the spa. The goal with any spa is to have all of those rooms booked all day long.
Sure, yeah.
That takes about 5 years to get to that point, depending on the region and the area. So we were on a path to making that happen. And then, of course, things sometimes are out of your control.
They certainly are. So let's talk about that. And I know from a business plan that things like that can wreck a business plan, just like the great financial crisis of 2007, 2009, that did as well. So from your perspective, what was it like as the owner? We obviously got the shutdown. And so talk about how you dealt with that, how you talked to your folks, and then as much as you want to share about, you mentioned that you're hiring, so I'd assume maybe you lost some folks during that time that had to go get employment elsewhere. There were some government programs available. Kind of really anything you want to share with us about the probably, such a challenging time for a business owner to, 2 or 3 years in, when everything's going great, all of a sudden it's not. So what can you share with us?
It definitely was scary, I think, for most business owners. It definitely still is a scary time.
Right.
And you've got to be realistic about what's in front of you and what you're going to do to deal with it. We kind of saw it coming. Susanna has worked for the Williamson County Health Services Department previously, and I actually is back with them on contract right now to help out with the crisis. But we kind of saw it coming, and we knew a closure was coming. We were actually ahead of the closure by about 3 days. We knew that our guests were getting apprehensive. We were having more cancellations due to, oh, I heard on the news this, or I'm just not sure right now, which we completely respected. Canceled those reservations for them. And she and I made the collective decision, okay, now is the right time. We were in a financial position where we did have to lay off all of our employees.
Okay.
We suspended our business on a Thursday because the Friday had completely fallen apart. We had maybe one person left coming in on Friday. So we suspended our business on a Thursday. I felt that was the right thing to do for our employees too. We let them know early enough in the day that way they could get on the phone with TWC that afternoon. Some of them it took a week and a half. Some of them it took a month and a half.
I've heard the horror stories.
All of the horror stories about that. But we wanted to do right by them because we love them and we respect them, and reassured them all, when we reopen, you will have a job. When you come back, we just are not in a financial position to be able to, pay you to stay home at this point. So we knew we would potentially lose some people over that, whether they found another job, which is a couple of our people did find other jobs right away, we had one person decide to go ahead with a relocation that was going to happen later this year. She decided to go ahead with that. And then, you know, we had a couple come back because they've got personal circumstances that they're not comfortable coming back to work anywhere at this point.
Oh, that makes sense. Certainly.
Yeah. And that leads up to, you know, our actively hiring right now is one, a little bit to replace because of that attrition. But at the same time, since we've reopened, what's been so encouraging is the demand that was waiting for us. During the closure, I had the phones forwarded to my personal cell phone. I didn't want to miss a call. I'd had the calls going to voicemail for a few days, and I would go in and I would check them, but I had so many, I figured it's just going to be more efficient if I can pick up the phone.
Right.
So I did that, and the calls did start to dwindle, you know, when we went into complete recommended stay at home. But once the order that nail salons could reopen came out on a Monday, because he announced it on a Monday that they could reopen that Friday. I took over 100 calls in a 72-hour period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I could not put my phone down. It just kept buzzing. So when that started happening, I was like, okay, there's a potential that we could come out of this okay. You know, the PPP has been a huge help for us. It allowed us to bring everybody back on at the same time and allow a pretty much full calendar of services to our guests. We modify hours somewhat. We're closed on Mondays right now versus 7 days a week being open like we were before. But we really just kind of had to do what we could with the tools that were presented to us. If there was an opportunity for a grant, if there was an opportunity for a loan from the government, I was busy applying for it.
Well, that's fantastic. And thank you for sharing all that stuff, because that's, you know, a lot of challenges that you probably on January 1st of 2020, you didn't think you were going to be an expert in these several different facets of business ownership. But of course, you're better and stronger for having gone through it and survived it. But what a great news story as far as the phone ringing off the hook. And I have a good friend that runs a hair salon in Tennessee that said the exact same thing. It's like people were just like, do you have any cancellations? Because, you know, that's part of the routine that we all got shaken out of. So is to come and get ourselves taken care of. So that's so great. So how would you say now you are you, and I guess with the latest, are you affected all by what Governor Abbott said on Friday? But now we're kind of into that second wave. Are you able to maintain what you have open for openings?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That did not impact us at this point. I believe that it was just the bars, and then limiting the size of gatherings for weddings and things like that, taking it down from 250, I think, to 100. I could be completely wrong on those numbers, but
right. I don't know for sure either, but that sounds pretty close to what you said. So
as far as personal care services, we have not been impacted by any reclosures at this point. I have a hair appointment next Sunday, and I haven't heard from my guy. So if he's not impacted, then we're not impacted, because we fall into the same boat under cosmetology.
Well, there you go. So I know what you mean as far as appointments around my house, that everybody's making sure they still get those. So, and then what would you say, what are your limitations now? Are you limited by your professionals to meet the demand that's out there, or is demand slowly coming back, or how would you assess the current business environment for you?
I would say we're limited by the number of professionals that we have on staff, in particular our massage department. Our aesthetics department, as far as our facials, waxing, and our nail department, they are busy. They are relatively fully booked every day. Our massage department is where we experience more turnaways with guests, or having to book guests, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks out sometimes. Okay. And we are limited in what we're allowed to provide, which does inhibit what certain people, you know, are looking for and what they're able to book. For example, we can't do couples massages right now. That would be the 2 guests and 2 massage therapists in one room together, and it wouldn't allow for social distancing, which we're adhering to throughout the spa. For example, in our nail room, we've got 4 nail chairs. However, we're only operating 2 at a time so that we have an empty chair between each guest to adhere to social distancing.
Okay, that makes sense. That is a lot to manage, all of the, you know, cleaning equipment and rooms and things, in addition to the social distancing, in addition to not having the full staff that you're used to. So that's a lot to work through. What you go ahead and brag about your spa real quick. You know,
Okay.
Tell us why we should all go there.
Because you deserve it. So I think self-care is something that people tend to put off. We live in a society where we're expected to just give of ourselves all the time. And sometimes we end up giving so much that there's nothing left for us to give from anymore. So I really think that taking that time, whether it be for a massage for therapeutic reasons, if you've got, you know, tension that needs to be released, or if it's just for general relaxation, or if it's a facial that gives you that, you know, hour and a half that you can escape to just really relax and be at one with yourself and give back to yourself for a little while. You know, same in our nail department too. Who doesn't, you know, men and women, you want to be presentable. You want to feel good. There's the old adage, if you feel or look good, you feel good. We
Right.
can help you with that. But, you know, the therapy of massage as well has, you know, proven benefits that go beyond just the aesthetic piece of it. It's a wonderful environment. It's very calm, very relaxing. During this time, you know, guests can be assured that we are at the utmost and exceeding sanitation expectations from both the state and then from our franchise home office as well. We've got a very strict curriculum, for lack of a better word, that happens between each service to clean
Right.
each room and make sure that it's ready for the next guest so that there's no hesitation or fear there. But our protocols are unique. You're not going to experience anything like our services anywhere else. We truly are, you know, a luxury day spa in your own backyard. You get the feeling of that luxury resort experience without having to drive too far. And we like to call ourselves affordable luxury too. We're very competitively priced within the marketplace.
Oh, well, very nice. Well, thank you for those wise words about taking care of yourself, because it is true. Everybody's so busy all the time. It's sometimes that's what falls out. So everybody go out, take care of yourself, and check out the spa. Now, before we go into the close, for those that are sitting at home, and I hope there's listeners out there saying, that's just so amazing, that the story that she just shared, and, you know, from all the way from college on up and how life kind of played out for her. What advice would you have either for your younger self or for somebody out there that's maybe thinking of taking on a project like owning and operating a franchise spa? I mean, that's a huge undertaking. What would you have to offer them?
I think, you know, do your research, particularly if it's a franchise. You'll hear people talk about, you know, franchise is the way to go. There's wealth in franchises. That's not the reason at all that I got into this, but you do hear that talk out there. If that's the case, make sure it's a franchise that you're passionate about. If you don't care and you're looking at the bottom line, it's not going to pan out because there's no soul to it. I think that that's something that Susanna and I have both really given to this, is truly a piece of ourselves. And people feel that when they come in. Our staff feels it from us. So really find what's inside you, what you're passionate about, what moves you, and then how you can utilize that in the world. If it's a business opportunity, if it's volunteering, if it's education, you know, whatever it is, it circles all back to that self-care. You know, feed yourself by doing something that you're passionate about.
Oh, those are great words. And I know that there are people out there listening that are like falling in love with you while you speak, right? And you tell the story and they think, okay, I know that's who I want to be, and I want to follow in her footsteps. So for those that want to learn more about the spa or about you, how can they get a hold of you, or where would you recommend that they find more information?
Well, in regards to the spa, you can follow us on social media. We are on Instagram. It's at Woodhouse Day Spa _Cedar Park. And then in Facebook, just search Woodhouse Day Spa Cedar Park. I am on LinkedIn. Elise O'Connell, not the Penn State soccer player. And then you'll have the right one.
You have a name competitor, huh?
Yes. She's much younger and more athletic than me.
All right. Well, Elise, it's been a fantastic time talking with you today. So thank you so much for sharing your message with us, and to Susanna out there. Hopefully you listen to this. Thank you for doing what is needed out of our country right now, stepping away from the spa and going back to work in the healthcare industry while we all try to deal with the COVID-19 thing and whatever the new reality is going to turn out to be. So with that, thanks listeners for listening in. Hopefully you got some good lessons from Elise today. And here's to you staying on time, on target financially with your financial goals. Bye. All right.